It's here.
I put all the links and all of the data in all of my things, but whatever.
I didn't do it everywhere.
Yeah, this is the way it goes. But we're gonna just start. Hello and welcome to Bandless. This is a show, a live weekly podcast about solo music creatives. That's what Nick is. That's what I am. That's what you are. You.
The proverbial you.
All of us. That's what we are. Hello, Jeremy. How are you? I hope you
What's
are
up,
well.
man?
Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, Nick Hill and myself dig into the challenges that we face as solo music creators. The series attempts to highlight the tools, tactics, and perspectives that might help to illuminate the path forward.
Indeed.
If you're wondering what it's all about, Nick Hill, what is tonight's topic all
Tonight's
about?
topic is it's a lonely one, Bunn. Creative loneliness. What's going on? How to stay stoked and keep going? How to connect with comrades, a scene, or a community along the way.
Nice. Yeah. It is not a very lonely thing, but it can be a very lonely thing. And,
Yes, it can be.
And before Nick Hill and myself found each other, it was very lonely. Dairy Proser. I cannot speak. Barry Proser. How are you?
Perry Broser.
Proser or Proser? It's Proser.
What's up, bud? How's it going, man?
Hope you are well. Yeah, this whole lonely thing. What is that all about? It's sometimes difficult to keep going in the sitting behind your computer playing all by yourself, knocking out jams, and what does it all mean? And is it lonely forever? And all that kind of stuff. Weird topic, but I think kind of an important one. Before we get going, I want to do a few shout outs. Who are we going to shout out first, Nick Hill?
Oh, I had my notes and then I put them away. First of all, we're going to shout out our good pal, Stephen Bartman from Gear Stuff and Things. He crossed the 800 subscribers threshold this week.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Props to Stephen for the work he's been putting in. He's been traveling to the States and he's in Ohio right now. So he's finding creative ways to still put out content. And it's been fun videos. So
yeah,
good on him for plowing through and doing what he has to do. So big shout out to him.
Yeah, if you're interested in what Steven's doing, I kind of did that with the wrong icon. Anyway, if you're interested in what Steven is doing, and if you'd like to celebrate his 800 subscriber mark, I put the link into the chat and pay him a visit, pay him a sub, say hello. And there's a good chance he may end up in the comments at some point tonight. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's busy, as he should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Second shout out. I'd like to shout out all of our homies in Discord.
Absolutely.
Everyone, that's an amazing thing that's going on there. Have you been in there the last few days? I have not been there in 2 days.
I pop in every day.
Yeah.
Pop in every day a few times just to see if there's anything I can, be helpful with. That's kind of my thing. But quite a few dudes in there, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
Looks like we got about 50 people in there already. So
yeah. It's growing, but it doesn't need to grow to be awesome.
No, absolutely.
One thing that I love about it. Nick Hill, or not Nick Hill, Nick Shaw. Nick Shaw is in the stream. Nick Shaw is a homie of mine that we've played in bands together. And
nice.
Yeah, he's a multi-instrumentalist and an amazing vocalist. And I'm stoked that you are in that comment feed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's good to have some new folks in here. Yeah.
Yeah. Cosman, how are you? Brandon, how are you? Tim Wheeler, good to see you.
Oh, sure. You guys are piling in.
Oh, that was a very Canadian for sure, eh?
Yeah, well, it's been a little Canadian in the States the last few days with all this snow.
Oh, all the igloos,
Yeah.
igloos and donuts. David Hollowell, how
David,
are you? Um, and last thing before we get into the topic, just want to say that this is a new channel. Obviously, those of you who are keen to subscribe, it'd be great if you subscribed. If you like the video, that's great too. And the channel is not monetized. And if you are interested in helping the channel along, there is a link in the description to do that. It is a paypal.me thing. No, not necessary, but if you're inclined,
nope, no obligation.
we'll take it because
Absolutely.
because life is expensive.
Because stupid restream.
Yeah. Ben Drakeford, how are you? Good to see you from sunny Munich. Is Munich sunny right now? No, it would be night there for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
No, it
Wait,
might be
no,
close,
it's daytime, right?
It might be close to morning.
It's
there.
after, yeah.
Yeah. Fen31, good to see you. Hope you are
What's
well.
up, man?
Amazing. So we're going to get into it here. Point number 1 on being a solo creator. Sometimes it feels like you're on a desert island, and it's a weird thing. It's hard to keep going sometimes. Sometimes you're just like sitting by yourself in that room, looking at the computer for way too long, marketing yourself for way too long. I don't know, practicing your riffs by yourself for way too long, and it just feels very lonely. How do you deal with that? So going the solo music route means a lot of work by yourself, and it can feel like you're in a vacuum, and things can start to feel meaningless. And this is a normal thing. How do you stay connected, and how do you stay sane in all of that kind of stuff? Nick, do you have any sort of first thoughts on kind of how you arrived at that spot? If you noticed it right away, if it took a while, and maybe the first thing that you considered when you realized this?
Yeah. So there's kind of two sides to this, right? There's the, we're doing all things on our own. We're writing all the music, all the content, everything that goes along with it. And we've kind of touched upon that in previous streams about, what goes into this YouTube musician thing, the music, producing all the music, all the graphics associated, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that. And then there is the side of, in order to do all that, you have to have this level of motivation and drive and willingness to sacrifice. So you're sort of on an island twice, if you will. You can't be on two different islands, but it's like you have to be a different kind of person to do all this stuff, right? You have to have all this motivation. And not everybody is like that. I know a lot of creative people in my life. I have a lot of creative people in my life who don't see things the way I see it. Like, I see kind of opportunity in everything, and Bunn, I know you do as well. It's like you're kind of using what you love to do and trying to turn it into something that you can live off of, like you want that to be the main thing, as do I. Yeah. And obviously life gets in the way, and bills need to be paid, and responsibilities need to be tended to. So that can't be the only thing we focus on for chunks of our life. But the point I'm trying to make is you have to be a different kind of person to pursue all this. And you have to be a different kind of person to be willing to be alone with your own headspace, figuring all of this out.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, hit me.
So I think kind of where this is heading, just for me to get my own sort of head around your thoughts, not head around, but like to get inside of what you're talking about, is it's a good idea first to kind of like do some self reflection and be like, is this for me? Am I the kind of person to do this? And maybe off the hop you're not, and maybe there's some adjustments that need to be made, but like to be aware of like, am I the person to go alone on this kind of thing, because if you're definitely not, so I'm sure there's lots of people who are definitely not those people.
Well,
And
instead of me going first, like, why don't you tell us, why did you decide to go solo, to do this solo thing, and then I'll get into mine.
Right. And maybe we'll kind of compare. They're probably going to line up perfectly.
Probably. Yeah.
Like for me, I was really happy to work alone off the top. So off the very top, I was like, yeah, this is for me. And I think I'm mostly that person. I like to toil. I like to tinker, all that kind of stuff, and get lost in doing a thing that's creative. But after a while, like after quite a while, probably 3 years, that changed. You know, I started to feel it. I played in bands forever. So like coming out of bands, which I'm a pretty diplomatic band person, I think, you know, Nick Shaw can maybe talk some smack. I don't know, but I think I'm pretty diplomatic as a band person. And Dr. Keys.
Dr. Keys said, you're saying the main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah. Dr. Keys. Dr. Keys is like a homie. Here, Toronto homie. So is Nick Shaw. Well, obviously, if we played in a band together. But anyhow.
Don't derail him.
Don't derail. So.
Diplomatic band member.
Being a diplomatic band member, all that kind of stuff. But still, when it comes to actually creating or whatever, I tend to perform best sort of on my own. I can work in a group setting. I'm not like my way or the highway kind of guy, but I definitely excel when I'm on my own. So I sort of champion this going it alone thing. But eventually, start feeling very isolated. And even though I knew that I'm this kind of guy, I'm into it, I'm all that kind of stuff, eventually it caught up with me. And it was right around the time that, you know, we initially connected and started talking about being YouTubers and all that kind of stuff. So one thing about that, when I met you through doing all of this stuff, I actually started to take social media a little bit more seriously and started to put an emphasis on the social part of social media, which, you know, seems obvious, but I think a lot of people are not very actually social in social media. So
correct.
Meeting you through all of this was like, oh, I can meet fellow creators, people who are making stuff, doing stuff. And, you know, it doesn't have to be so lonely, because it feels very lonely in terms of your day-to-day life. The more you go into this stuff, the more you are not the same as the everyday person on the street.
Right.
Not
exactly.
And I'm not saying that you're special or anything.
No.
You're just different.
That's what I was talking about. Like, you are putting yourself on this island of, I'm doing this all myself, but you're also like you said, the further you go in it, it's like the more time you have to dedicate to it, the more things you have to sacrifice. It's a whole thing. And I hope it's coming across the way we're intending it to. Like, this is not a complaint session. It's
just something to be mindful of.
Yeah, it's something to be mindful of. And you bring up a good point about, like, we've had ad nauseum discussions on my dislike for social media, but you make a good point in regards to, forget about what social media really is, which is an advertising platform. You can use it to connect with people. And you and I did. I don't remember exactly how we connected. I really wish I did.
I think it was you. One thing I know about you is
I reached out.
You are much more, I think this is kind of a thing that you're built for, is you're good at like reaching out with people and kind of making that first kind of like, hey, what's up, and all that kind of stuff. I'm terrible at that stuff. Um,
I was
I
historically
always
bad at it. Historically.
I
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable. I always feel like I'm bothering someone, but it's interesting. You know, you reached out to me and I was not bothered at all. I was like, oh, this guy does something very similar to me. And it was like, oh, nice. Like someone to hang out with and talk to about what doing all this is all about.
Yeah.
So whatchamacallit, creative people, like you did that in your area as well, like physically,
Yeah.
like you did it with this music store.
Yeah. I think I've told this story before, but yeah, when I was first getting into like video as a side gig, I was already doing some of my own stuff with really, really cheap gear, which is fine. You know, you
Yep.
use what you have. But before I had decent enough gear to get a gig, I proposed a idea to a local music store, wrote up a proposal, gave it to them, got a good response, but it took them a while to kind of get things going on their end. And finally, the owner was kind of like, you know what, Nick, this is a great idea. I want to do it because the owner of this store is very much into the community, the music community, the local Milwaukee community, and all of the venues. He does anything and everything he can to support musicians and venues. So he saw this as a way to do that. And he's like, I'm getting in the way. Talk with this person who works at the store and let's get this going. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't have anything. I'm not ready, but yes, okay. So I quickly got enough stuff to do this, and the ball started rolling. And to that regard, also, you know, you and I have talked, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on the stream. It took me a long time to put any of my music out because I was Barry. There you go. Because I was intimidated. I thought I needed to be in a band to get anywhere with this. Blah blah blah. All the excuses that all of you guys. I'm not calling anybody out, but some of the things that you guys have mentioned in the chats before, I was doing that same stuff. And, you know, I reached out to my buddy Jeff that I met through other friends and found out he was a vocalist and I had all this music. And I'm like, Jeff, would you be interested in singing on some of my stuff? And he said yes. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. I don't know how to produce vocals, but I did it, you know?
Yeah.
So like that's like the partisan component. That's the name of the group. That's the name of our project that I did with Jeff. Like that was just out of putting myself out there. And it was scary because like I said, I'd never produced real vocals before. You
Right.
know, guitars and instrumental stuff is one thing, but you know, doing something that you've never done, it was very intimidating, but for some reason I just like I'm going to go for it. I'm tired of waiting. I was tired of waiting, and that's kind of what I was part of this whole going solo thing. I got tired of waiting for people to want to do things because I would former people I was in bands with, blah blah blah. Like, do you want to, do you want to do something? Do you want to work together? Do you want to create some music? Do you want to start a project, even if it's just a studio thing? I asked so many people, and people had interest, and people did have desire, but it was a matter of them having the capacity to make time for it. Because at my age, and I'm not like super old or anything, but like that's key. You have a family time, you know?
Yeah.
So stuff got in the way. I had my kids early, so they're a little bit older, a little more independent. And I got tired of waiting. And that's why I started YouTube and making my own music. And that's why I eventually reached out to Jeff and making my own music. And that's why I reached out to you because I was doing the lonely thing for a while. Like the YouTube channel was starting to kind of grow, and I noticed it starting to grow. And then I came across your channel and I really liked what you were doing with all of it. And I'm like, I'm just going to reach out, you know? I do that still,
Yeah.
probably sooner than I should, but you know, I'll try and build relationships with people and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen is they don't respond or somebody says no or you
Yeah.
know, I've heard no 1,000 times. So
What is the saying? It takes 100 no's to get a yes, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a saying. But looping back around to what you were talking about before with looking for the opportunities and things, and not to frame that as like a capitalist opportunist or whatever, but looking at what's available to you as a creative person in terms of making that creative thing a reality, and maybe much more significant part of your life. It doesn't need to
Hmm.
be going towards a career or whatever, but whatever it is you want to make of it, it might be just to finish some songs and get them on the internet, or go play an open mic, or I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But looping back to that opportunity type of thing, in a way, the way that you describe this is being sort of on that island, being so super solo, super alone, was your opportunity. It kind of made the opportunity because it's very clear. You're not selling your band. You're not selling anything else. It's very easy. You had spent the time getting a little bit of a base going, and,
Yeah.
started reaching out from that base.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's worth saying again that like when I mean opportunities, it isn't solely about fiscal opportunities. It's about
Yeah.
like let's be real here. Like I would love to just be making music and making videos and make enough money to take care of my family. That's what I would like to do. The fact of the matter is, I have a day job, which I happen to be a video producer and editor as my day job.
Yeah.
So I do get to do what I love to do, but that came about because of YouTube,
Right.
because I learned how to edit for YouTube and got good enough that I was able to get a job doing it. But music is like my thing. That's what I wanted to be a musician from an early age. I want people to hear my music and I want to be around musicians, and that would ultimately one day, until I die, at some point it would be nice that music paid all the bills this month or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Question for you.
Yeah.
How, how much further along are you towards that particular goal compared to Nick before he put out Partisan Component, before he decided it's like, you know what, I'm going to just go for it? How far along are you in terms of your level of satisfaction, your own perception of it, as well as, um,
Uh, I, based on the way my music has been received, based on the relationships I've built, based on the growth of my channel, because let's face it, that seems to be the biggest chunk of getting towards that dream one day, the channel and music,
yep.
but all these ancillary things that, you've helped me realize helps too. Like I'm infinitely further along having
Yeah.
started it. Um, like the music side of things is almost at a point where it can completely sustain itself, like
Yeah.
that's something.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that doesn't pay my mortgage or my car payment,
Yeah.
but but the growth tells me that I one day could be able to do more music with more of my time and might be able to pay for my car,
Yeah.
my car payment. So like it sounds like I'm just after money. I'm not like, and because you tell me this all the time. It's okay to make money at the things you love because you want to do those things more. And that's all I want to do,
Yeah. The world we live in, like, nobody is a stranger to money.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
there is definitely a weird thing in the arts where
Hmm.
certain scenes will be uncomfortable with money, or have this criteria of what commerce means in that creative space. But I think it's up to you as the person who is making things, as the artist. It's like you get to make that decision. Am I an artist that is in the business of art, or am I just an artist for the love of art? You know, the most famous artists in the world were all
Paid?
businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So, and I
so
mean
there
like
is,
serious artists, not pop
right,
artists, you
right.
know?
So that is an important aspect of it.
Yeah.
That being said, it's not substantial enough to like sway anything. You know what I mean? So the
Your current
opport
situation.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but what has happened is opportunities and situations that I would have never thought would arise. So like meeting you and building our friendship, becoming best friends, and then starting to work on more and more things together, having somebody to be able to relate to when it comes to this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
we talk about diving in and being alone for so long, and then like, oh shit, I need to like relate to people because this is lonely. You know, you and I have that in one another. And then, meeting all the cool people who have subbed to my channel, like Cosman, just as an example that I've built friendships with. And there's others too that I chat with here and there. And then Steven, of course, from Gear Stuff and Things. Like I'm working on music with Steven now. And
Yeah.
it's music that I was telling him last night, I am so excited about this music. And the Discord, the community of guys that are in the Discord, and everybody's just positive and trying to help everybody out and just have a space where you can just talk about this stuff and you don't have to deal with the headaches of everything else that's going on. Like that came out of all of this. You know what I
Out
mean?
of
Like,
starting. Yeah.
yeah, out of starting, exactly. So you just it's like I told Tony, my wife, all the time. Like I don't know. Um, the music go round thing is a perfect example. So when I told her about this, like she's very supportive, and she's like, so you got to get a camera, right? And we started talking about it. She's like, is this gonna be worth it? Are you gonna be able to pay the camera off at some point? And I'm like, I don't know if this thing will be worth it, but the next thing could from this
Yeah.
thing.
And the
And
overall momentum. Yeah.
she didn't get that at first, and now with enough kind of like successes,
Yeah.
like she sees things that way now too.
Right.
And I kind of wrote down in our notes, like not everybody sees things like that. Like there's different creative, and I know I'm on a tangent. There's different creative avenues that you go down where sometimes you need to do stuff for dirt cheap or for free or offer your services just to get a foot in the door. Like that's not worth it, but it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you need to put the reps in, get your name out there, especially if you're good, so that you can have the confidence and have the proof that you're worth what you should be getting paid. Like that you're worth what you should ask for, Like the first music video I did for the band that I do videos for here, like it was X amount of dollars. And by the third one, they wanted to pay me more. So it's
Yeah.
like it builds. You don't know. I didn't know how to make a music video the first time.
Get the
I
ball rolling.
had no idea, but
Yeah.
it turned out. So
Turned out good. I saw that
you
video.
have to just think about it as like, it's just one brick in the wall.
Yeah.
It's like you're building this thing. I I didn't mean for that
It's ideal.
it's like you're building your staircase in front of you to get to a
Yeah.
higher place.
Yeah.
So
We're going to get to the comments
yeah,
in a moment,
good
but
good stuff.
Nick Shaw.
Sorry, I knew that was long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, it's
I
good.
knew
It's good.
this was going to happen, this topic.
So it's so in line with what we're going at here. But Nick Shaw brings about the thing how it can be very difficult for a lot of people to be alone and kind of slugging it out in the beginning. But I guess what today's episode is really, really about is if you can stick it out and muscle through that first bit, things do start to happen. You do start to connect with people, your people. It depends about your own, your own attitude, your own point of view. We're going to get into that in point 2 here. But yeah, if you're warm and open, you will connect with people, and it's not lonely forever. But we're going to get to some comments here. Nick Hill, you want to kick off the topic, or not the topic, but the comments?
Yeah. So I just had Nick's comment up that you're kind of speaking of.
Yeah.
About, let me just throw it back up real quick. It's easy to give up when you go at it alone. It's easy to find a reason to not and be discouraged. Yep. Having the faith you need to have in yourself can be difficult at times for a lot of people. And that's exactly it. And it's recognizing that and knowing that that is the differentiating factor between you having a little bit of success or getting some enjoyment or like making it more than just a side hobby and, it being nothing. So that's a very good point. Steven from Gear Stuff and Things. What's up, buddy? Congrats on your 800 now that you're in here.
Congrats.
Your vision is your vision. Seldom will people see the end game or the long goal. Good English there, pal.
End game or long game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's what I was kind of saying. Like, Tony, my wife, she sees things that way now, but like at the beginning, because let's face it, man, at the beginning, for most of the time we've been married and together, she's made more money than me. And that's important, but it's like you're on a team and you have responsibilities and aspirations as like a team, a couple. And then here's me. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this work and I hate my job, but it pays the bills. But I want to do all this cool stuff that I want to be doing. And I don't think it's going to really pay at first for many, many years, but it also is super expensive, i.e. building computers, acquiring the gear to record, computer stuff, like camera stuff, all this stuff. It's just like, the old, the cartoon of the eyes rolling with the dollar signs. It's like, but it's like, yeah, getting my song mastered, like it's $30 or whatever, $50. It doesn't seem worth it, and especially since 8 people are going to listen to the first one. But the next thing could be, more successful, and then the thing after that could be, you just don't know.
Get the ball rolling.
Don't be afraid of that vision. Let me get to some more. Sorry, gosh, I'm tangenting. Nick Shaw says that's a difference. When you leave a band, you don't have that group confidence. That's true. There's something to that. And we see it in the real world every day. Groupthink,
Yeah.
Like it's a serious thing. It can be for good. It can help push you collectively as a group, or it could help you make really poor decisions as a group too.
Yeah.
So, yes, of course, we're both drinking Liquid Death. Let's go. Like this is a long game too. It probably seems silly. My wife's like, "Why do you keep posting pictures of Liquid Death?" I'm like, "I like their water, and who knows? Maybe they'll like me."
Yeah, and also, it makes my riffs heavier.
It does. It quenches that.
Yeah.
You can't make heavy riffs when you have cottonmouth.
Yeah. Dr. Key says the ability to muscle through the first bit is paramount to the progression of a project because it allows you to look back and see the tangible progress that is being made. Yeah, that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
If you push through, it affords you perspective that you would never otherwise have.
We've talked about this with guys in the chat when it comes to their music.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people will ask, like, how do you know when a song is ready? Or what if I don't feel like my songs are good enough or they don't sound good enough? It's like your first ones probably won't, and they shouldn't. And who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Because the next one will be a little bit better and the next one will be a little bit better. and the next one will be a little bit better, you know?
And maybe the way that you're looking at the first one is just the wrong way. Maybe it's actually a banger.
Well, last one, or no, your last live stream when you were kind of showing some songs, you showed one of your
Was it the Wetlands, like 3?
one of your
First one?
Wetlands songs,
Right.
and you're like, this first one, it really sucks. And I was like, that's my favorite song. And that's what we were talking about is like at one point, maybe Bunn wouldn't have put that song out because he's like, I'm not feeling this. But
Yeah.
he put it out.
Yeah.
And of the 3, not that I don't like the other 2 because I do, but like I just something about that first one. I was like, I love this one. He's like, I hate that song. It's like you just don't know. You know, it's not always for you. Also, like just put it out into the ether.
Yeah.
What have you got to lose?
We get into this little bit here a lot on this channel, which is you don't get to choose who likes what you do, and you don't get to choose why either. It's not up to you as the person who is creating the thing to decide A, if somebody else is going to like it or not, and B, if somebody else is going, like, why they are going to like it or not. Like their reasoning as well, like their decision and their reasoning, not up to you ever.
Yeah.
As the person making anything.
Right.
So, and it's a weird thing to wrestle with, because A, many people never contemplate this. And B, it's like, it takes the whole thing sort of out of your hands. You know, I'm going to write a good song. Well, it doesn't matter what you do. Even if you have magical powers. You'll never be able to write a great song that is great for everyone. Might be great for someone.
That's the sooner you get over that, the sooner you get over that. Like,
yeah, it makes it way easier to move forward.
Yeah, like, let me use an example of this. It sort of goes along with it, but it doesn't. Like, I've had a lot of people compliment me on my music, which I'm very appreciative of, and was the initial point of starting a YouTube and putting my music out there, is because I want people to hear it. But there's been times, and I'm not saying this to crap on the band I'm going to use an example of, but there's been times where people will be like, oh, I love your music. It sounds like Avenged Sevenfold. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's not who I want to sound like.
Yeah. I have gotten Metallica, Dillinger Escape Plan, Meshuggah.
I would take Dillinger and Meshuggah and Metallica for that
Sepultura.
matter.
Yeah, except I don't make any music at all that sounds like any of those things.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Exactly. But and that's
whatever.
To your point. It's like, that's how they respond to it. That's their perception.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing. Like, who cares? Who cares why they like your music, so long as they like it, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Doesn't really matter. But we're tangenting here again, which is fine. This show is all about tangents.
Yeah, we are the king of tangents.
Gonna make that T-shirt, Tangent Kings.
Kings. There you go.
Coming to a threadless near you. Point 2. So we're going to get into point two here, which is self-awareness. This is a big thing, I think, as an artist. It was something that I never really thought about in my younger life, with dreams of like being a musician or an artist of any kind. And it was never crossed my mind of like, what is my psychology? But I think it is very helpful if your goal is to move forward, and if you're stuck on moving forward with your music or your art of any kind, for any reason, whether it be to make it a career or whether it to be, weekend warrior, whether it to be just a guy who is making jams and committing to finishing songs in your studio that no one will ever hear. Your reasoning doesn't have to be anything specific. But if you're like, I'm stuck on going forward with any of those things, but I really want it, kind of going inner, I think, is really important. We talk all the time about being like dudes on this, doing our reps and all this stuff, but you got to be self-reflecting and, considerate of the self.
Yeah.
I think in order to make good decisions or healthy decisions in terms of your path forward, otherwise you're going to live with regret. So, how do you think and feel in relationship to other people and in relationship to the thing that you're doing? Like, who are you? It's a hard question to ask. And strangely, not a lot of people ask it. A lot of people are like, I know who I am. I'm like, do you really?
Right.
And have you ever, like, how often do you think about this thing? Is it your regular, or is it like a one-time ponderance? It's like, oh, what is life? And then that's it. And you never think about, like, how am I thinking about this? How am I thinking about myself in relationship to other people? And if you're really lonely, like if you're doing this thing, let's say you're in it, and you're making stuff all the time, and then you suddenly find yourself really lonely, and now you got to connect with people. You're like, I got to connect with people or else I'm going to die, by antisocial.
There's something to it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just very healthy to interact with others, especially people like you. But if you're having difficulty with it, sometimes a lot of it is, the way you're going about it, and not being like, how am I in terms of how I am reaching out to people, in terms of how I communicate with other people. Like for me, that's very top of mind because I am autistic, and I found out about my autism pretty late in life. So I had to do a lot of like, what am I? How do I work? Because I am definitely different than neurotypical people.
Right.
So I have maybe an advantage actually because of that situation, but
like an advantage in that you feel obligated to
be more self-aware.
Yeah. To
more
pay more
sensitive
attention to how. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I have
to. That's a good point.
I have to be on top of it because I can get really weird. People.
It really probably does make you. Yeah, this is a weird term, but it really probably in the long run makes you probably a better person because of it,
Maybe a more sensitive person is a better way to look at it.
Sure. Okay.
And not sensitive like so many feelings, just sensitive to what's going on, which may be a benefit to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But self-awareness is a big one. Self-reflection. It's like, who am I? What do I really want? How am I? What is my kind of relationship with these things? Do I have a negative outward perception? Do I have a positive outward perception? Are the things that I think I want even the things I want or I'm interested in? That's another thing too, like getting clear on. Some people are like, oh, I really want to do this. And then they find themselves in the situation. They're like, I really don't want to do this.
Right.
You see that with bands all the time. People who are like, yeah, I want to be in a band and all that kind of stuff. But like, they don't want to load gear. They don't want to, tear down and set up and tear down and set up.
It's like, oh, you don't want to be in a band.
No, you just want to tell famous. People. Yeah, you want to tell people you're in a band, but you don't actually want to be in a band. And I've encountered that personality a million times. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, nothing wrong with that personality, but it's a good illustration in terms of getting pretty clear on like who you are, what your relationship with your wants or desires are, what your relationship with your, with the world is. You're like, how do I see people? How do I communicate with people? How do I am I always sort of like talking to hear myself, or do I ask people how they're doing? How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah.
But these things are very important. What is your perspective on this in terms of, um, you know,
This whole thing.
looking inside in relationship to not only the work, but also when it comes time to, I got to connect with people.
Yeah. Oh man. Like I'm just like looking at my thoughts that I spewed on this page, and it's like it's a lot. So when when it comes to like self-reflection, I think you and I are good at it because we talk about reflection a lot, and um, I do it a lot because I spent so much time not doing it and not giving a crap how I came across to people, and it really put strain and stress on the people around me that I loved and cared about. So it took a chunk of time for me to recognize like I can still be outspoken and opinionated, about the things I'm passionate about, but also not just ignore how it could be coming across. You're not your job isn't to protect people all the time, but you are responsible for how you come across to people to some degree. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because like in regards to this, it's like when you go from a band especially where I was kind of the same way when I was in a band. I was very democratic. I didn't speak up probably enough. Um, and then you kind of, compare that to diving in and doing stuff on your own. You get very protective of your own stuff. I know I am. I think Bunn, you probably are too. You're very protective of like how your vision is, like we talked about before, or what you want to be doing, or how you want it to sound, or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I've been privileged enough, again, because of all of this, like to collaborate along the way. So I have an example of like me and my best bud Steve, who lives out in California. He's a very good producer, and he has written songs and pieces of music that's been placed in TV shows and movie, et cetera, et cetera. He'll
Yeah.
he'll a- answer ads for song requests and get songs placed. Well, we worked on a few songs together, and I loved it. It was absolutely amazing. I kind of like he knows about what that is. He knows what these music manager, placement managers are looking for. So I let him take the lead. I kind of just added my musical flair to it when he needed it. And it was great. It was great because, like it was about the project. It was about the thing. Like, let's write something that's going to get placed. We wrote a particular type of track. We wrote like a pop country type of track, believe it or not, and it turned out really
Yeah.
good, and it got forwarded but just didn't land, and we got good feedback from the company, and I'm like, hey man, that's a win in my book. And it was because I was willing to kind of remove myself from that particular thing. It wasn't about Nick is playing
Yeah.
guitar on this thing. um
Yeah.
but I
Being
know,
aware of,
yeah, but that came out of a lot of work, like I said, about being reflective and not being so hardcore about what I thought I needed to have a part in. Like that took a while for me to get to that point. Had that been 5 years earlier, probably wouldn't have gone well. But like on the flip side, when I'm writing stuff for Nick, or like when a lot of you guys are in my Saturday live streams and I'd work on music, like I'm in the process of working on music in a lot of those streams, and I'm trying to work on stuff, and we're chatting and people give suggestions. Like, okay, if the suggestion is good, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. But if it's weird. If I see a suggestion and I don't like it, I sort of like in the back of my head, it like gnaws at me a little bit. It's like, no, 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 no. You don't get it. You know, it's a weird visceral reaction. You guys don't see it because I keep it under wraps, but it's because I'm so protective of my freaking thing that I don't care what you think should be here. I just don't say it. It's a weird thing. So it's funny how it flips so quickly. And
Yeah.
I've also worked with people before, like, where we were both this is a perfect example. This was years ago when I worked with my buddy Everest, Sergio. I asked to produce his album. He's a hip hop artist in California. I wanted to get into that more. That's another thing I didn't know how to do, and I just asked to do it. I'm like, I want to
Seems
produce
like
this. I can
connection.
do it. I can do it. Oh yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
Good.
Network connection 0 out of 10.
Oh well, you're still there, and I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna finish my story. So
Yeah.
I was working with Everest, and he had a very specific vision. He's very um, strong-willed and opinionated and stubborn, and I was very stubborn at the time too and opinionated. And he obviously has been doing it longer, and I was just getting into it. But I'm like, I'm producing it and mixing it. I want it this way. So it was a lot of headache and bumping heads and frustration. Now, I love him to death. He's like a brother to me. We grew up together. But it wasn't necessarily the healthiest of situations because neither of us were willing to remove ourselves. It was about, and in reality, it was about him. So that's an example of not being self-aware enough and it
Right.
making things difficult. Now, the end product was good and I'm proud of it, and so is he. And, it's something I look back at fondly, but when I'm reflective on it, I can see the error of my ways. I don't know that he
Right.
would be so forthcoming with admitting any wrong. But that's just how he is, and I'm fine with it. I love him still.
Yeah.
There we go. There's my long-winded Jesus.
I like it. It's good. It's perfectly in line with what we're talking about. They're great examples. Don't feel bad there. I think to sort of sum it all up, if you're, self-aware enough, you are much more better apt to see what's special in other people, and also understand the dynamics of your relationship a lot better.
Hmm.
And even have a better understanding of your own operations in relationship to what you're doing and, what loneliness actually means to you and all that kind of stuff in terms of being a lonely creative, different than someone who has not got a date for the prom.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I think also in the end, like understanding that differences are probably a thing to champion, things being exactly the same. One of the things that happens a lot when we're looking to connect with other people or communicate with other people, even not even a solid connection, just a communication, is a lot of times people are looking for other people to agree with them, to be the same as them in every way. And a little bit of difference is good. A little bit of difference of opinion, difference of style, a difference of...
No, definitely it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
I think there's an opportunity to grow from that, for everyone.
I do too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like some pushback is definitely good. It's definitely good.
Yeah.
Um, if it's too easy and you're just surrounded by
Yes.
yes
Yes,
people,
people.
it's not. It's probably going to be shit.
Yeah. How's my stream?
You're good.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah,
good. The
you're fine.
the
The
bars
bar.
say something, but
Yeah, you
my
look just as good as before, but it does say one. But so who knows?
yeah,
Restream.
I rebooted the Wi-Fi connection
Huh.
very quickly. But we're gonna grab some comments here.
Yeah, there's a lot of them too.
There's a lot of them.
Ah, man.
Okay, I'm just gonna pick some here.
Yeah.
Turboplasma Chicken, how are you? Hope all is well. Ego tells you people's opinions matter because that's how it defines itself, through separation and drawing lines. Just like an artist draws or paints a picture, but the picture is not the artist. Oh, interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The artist is not the art, and the art is not the artist. They have like a relationship.
Yeah. Huh.
And yeah.
Well, you got us there.
Yeah. It's I
That's
like
a good
that.
comment.
I
Yeah.
like that idea. Maybe we're even picking it up a different way. Maybe he intends to show this idea a different way, but like I'm picking it up in what seems to be a very fun way. Interesting. Yeah. Anyway, perspective. That's a good word.
That's
you know that word?
Yeah. You mean you don't have perspection?
And then, Dylan, the master of wrong opinions. How are you, Dylan? I hope you are well. Yes, you're entitled to your wrong opinion, and you are.
Yep.
This is important. I think what's important in having the wrong opinion is understanding that there are differences of opinion. It's interesting when you interact with people either professionally or socially or otherwise, and another person is not aware of the nature of where they stand. They're like, I stand here and I'm standing strong, but they have no idea why or what it means or what it's relative to or anything.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Dylan has a follow-up to that where he says, I've had critical feedback on my tunes in the past that I didn't like at first, but wound up leading to me rewriting or approaching something, and it turned out better. Chaps my ass. Yeah. So that's true though. That is very true. Case in point, I'm working on these tracks for this Wells project that I'm working on with Steven.
Yeah.
And I had it laid out a certain way, and I'm like, this is perfect for vocals. What do you think? And he's like, can you do this and this? And I'm like, well, what? You want me to move stuff around?
Yeah.
But he was right. He's like, well, the vocals will hit harder if you do this. I'm like,
yeah,
that's true. Okay. Okay.
Especially coming from the vocalist.
From
right?
Yes. Yes, the person who's going to be doing that part. Yeah. Conform to my wishes.
Yeah. And David Hollowell, we'll grab one more.
Thoughtful, man.
Yeah, very, 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 very. That's basically my dream. Let's see what this one's about here. So David Hollowell, how are you, David? I hope all is well. That's basically my dream personally, writing stuff for things like that, personally video games, but I'd probably be comfortable doing music that ends up on TV, movies, or something. That's the end game. And interesting thing about this one, because it can be a very solo kind of work. A lot of people who do scores work incredibly a lot for long periods of time, totally alone. But the flip side of that is, to do well in this kind of business is it requires being really good with people, like the interpersonal and the dialogue and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's funny. Like, it doesn't require it, but you really should be. It's funny. You do spend so much time isolated in your musical bubble or production bubble, that you kind of fall out of practice dealing with other human beings. But in order to perpetuate this thing that we want to be doing, you got to be good with people.
Yeah, to get the good gigs, you have to be good with people.
Because being good with people might get you a gig over somebody who may be technically more talented than you.
Yeah, but they talk terrible. And yes. I don't mean
I see it all the time in my job, in what I do. Like, we know, when we've heard and experienced, that while and it's always been a case of like we finish a product and they're just like, this is amazing, and we were so happy to work with you because you were just so easy to work with and
Right.
kind, and you made us feel at ease than this other previous company we worked with, all this flashy gear that turned out at, your product was just as good as them, but the difference was attitude and,
Yeah.
you know, not being an a-hole.
Yeah.
It goes so far. You could be an a-hole behind closed doors, you know,
Yeah.
vent to your buddies, I vent to you all the time.
Yeah. You got to vent sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to let it out. But
Yeah.
great comments. Fantastic stuff, duders. All these, it seems like the crowd that we run with
Yeah. It's
are all big thinkers, like just spending a lot of time thinking, which I
Yeah,
can
we
relate to.
appreciate it. We really
Yeah,
do.
a
It's
lot.
yeah.
So we're going to move to point three. Point three is it's not forever. And it's not forever in terms of that thing of that stretch that you have to crush through in the beginning. If you're going to go the solo road, and do everything yourself and try and make a go of it for whatever reason, your reasoning is up to you. But, it can feel like you're totally alone for a really long time, but it's not forever.
Yeah.
You're, and the more you do, especially the more you share, the more you get out there in terms of music, videos, whatever it is you're making, it starts to build up, build up, build up, and suddenly you will find yourself in a situation where you're connecting maybe a little too much, and you're like, I can't handle all of this influx of messages and communication, or
Hmm.
going out into the world, and it's constantly being stopped or whatever. So it's definitely not forever. I'm curious, Nick, in terms of your perception and also your experience of that. You went at it for a long time yourself.
Hmm.
You know, did you feel like what was the motivation? Was that the motivation that led you to start reaching out to people? Because yeah, you're a brilliant connector. Like you're just like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, it's funny. Growing up, I was very, very, very shy, very shy.
Right.
Um, and like life kind of changes you, yeah, as it has a tendency to do. So I kind of got over that. Um, but when it comes to this, like, yeah, I dove in and spent a couple of years building at the beginning and learning what I needed to learn. And it did get lonely because this is what I was talking about at the beginning. Like you're on an island as far as like you're sacrificing. You don't watch TV. You're not going out on the weekends. You're not playing video games. I used to game a lot. Like you're sacrificing these things and sleep and time with loved ones even. Um, Eventually you have to find a balance for that one. But like your hustle and desire to learn, like not everybody is like that. That's what I was talking about, but about being on this creative island where it's like, you know I have my head kind of on a swivel when it comes to this stuff, as far as like opportunities. And I'm not talking fiscal, but yes, but also relationships, opportunities to work with this person. um, I had an opportunity today where it's funny. Like I told you today, like I won a little bit of a little contest that I just randomly tried to win, and I got an email from this person saying I won, and in the email I offered up, can I do music for you for free? You know, blah blah blah, this, that, or the other thing. Instead of saying thank you, I'm glad
Yeah.
I won, which I did. I'm like, how can I work with you? How
Yeah.
can I build a relationship with you? It's
Yeah.
just like a freaking instinct now. But it was because something clicked a few years ago where it's like, maybe it was like when I said I was always looking for some other person to join me to start something, and then I gave up and just did the solo thing for a while. I think maybe then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna, anytime I see an opportunity, I'm just gonna stick myself in there. And if my foot stops the door and I get to speak, cool. And if it gets slammed in my face, well, there'll be another door, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I just all the time am looking for opportunities just because I want to do music and video and stuff like that and be creative and work with creative people. Like, just work with creative people is huge, you
Yeah.
know? So, you know, that kind of started me also really digging into this, like reaching out and offering up how can I be helpful to you? You know, what can I do for you? You know, and like with Steven and you, when you and I have conversations, something that I've been probably saying too much lately, but I mean it, like, what can I do to be helpful? You know, like
Right.
that's what I'm putting out.
Yeah.
Because while it will lead to opportunity, I think. And
Yeah.
that sounds dirty, but like I don't mean it that way. I just mean like if
Well,
I want to perpetuate what I want to be doing,
let's
I
call it
have to
growth,
growth. There we go. That's a very good word. Yeah.
because it's the same thing, but it just a little flip.
Yeah. It's yeah, so I think that's kind of like really maybe like I just said, made it an instinct now where it's just like it's just automatically like if something presents itself, I'm just like beep, it just happens.
Yeah.
You know? Like so
So
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
like that old Michael Scott saying, you
yeah.
know, you miss 100% of the goals
You
you know
don't
you
take.
oh
You
you
don't.
don't you miss 100% of the shots you don't I'm screwing it up.
It's
Michael
perfect.
Scott, Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky
The great
ruined
one.
it. The great one, yeah.
The great one. I'm not even a hockey player, but I'm Canadian.
Yeah, so
So.
it's just part of you. You know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, there's something interesting about having. I think I'm just relating to your story. I think having a little bit of a base behind you, like doing a bunch of that work, getting a bunch of music out, getting a bunch of videos out, establishing yourself within a space, even if just a little bit, um, is very helpful in terms of when you do start reaching out and forming more professional relationships or have the opportunity to connect with people like this fellow creator where that you are talking about today, where you got the winnings. You're presented with these opportunities. If you have a little bit of a base, if you spent the time, if you crushed through that lonely work, it's very helpful when you start to find yourself in a position where you're connecting with people because you're like, I do this. I did all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cosman.
This is a good comment, and it kind of speaks to what we're talking about. And there, especially if you're going to dive into this YouTube end of things, like you do have to have some idea of when it is and might not be a good idea to reach out as far as your trajectory goes. But for the most part, I seem to be ignoring that. But Cosman did something here where he spoke of this drum VST in the Discord as well, and he reached out to the makers of it because he liked that the drums sounded good and he didn't have to do much work to get it to work with his mix. For a
Right.
lot of us, drums are hard. Like for me, I've said it, drums are hard. You guys have seen the live stream. I just now started like sending out all the drum parts to their own track. Just now.
Gotta
Because
do it.
I'm not good at it.
Oh,
But
yes, you are.
you know, Cosman with his little baby channel that he's just starting to get into and building up some nerve to do more videos, like he reached out to this guy, and the guy who, you know, the VST maker, I presume, like was receptive to it, and he was cool, and he's
Right.
willing to work with him, you know. But had Cosman not even bothered, like it just goes to show, like, hey man, I like your product, I think it's great. I know I'm a small channel, but if you'd be willing to work with me, I would love to kind of see if I can get some more eyes on your stuff. I say that all the time to people,
Yeah.
like it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. And you get to flex that muscle of interacting with people, emailing people, not, like engaging in conversation. And if you do get to do something, like to flex the muscle of trying to come up with a good piece of content for you and the person you want to work with,
Sorry, I'm having some web things here. I'm listening, but I was trying to find Cosman's channel without.
Don't push it.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know what?
I can find it. I got great upload. I'll find it. You miss 100% of the swings you don't take. Yes.
Yeah, Dylan, that is it. 100%. Whatchamacallit, because Mike Hoover, fourth arguments, pleasant chicken, also the weirdo. I saw a comment here. Yes, Teresa. This is a good one. So, Turboplasma Chicken says, yes, so true. So many would rather be any place but here, I think you're trying to say, and anytime but now. Yeah, being in the moment is a kind of an important one. Where am I at? And where am I going rather than where do, like, I guess it's important to pick a target, where do I want to be, but to live at the target, I think is not very good for your mental health. Like it's a little bit better to be in the moment and just be like, this is what I'm doing right now. And this is where I'm at right now. And I'm happy right now. I'm healthy right now. Hopefully that is the case with everyone.
Yeah.
And Dylan, I work with smaller guys. If you can tell, they know how to handle the approach shit. People don't realize how valuable that is. So
yeah,
this is actually, we'll bring it, get into this in a later episode, but I'm not going to get too detailed right now. But Dylan works with artists to some capacity, and he has a very interesting perspective in terms of the various personalities and the manners by which people communicate in creative business.
He has some very useful insight.
Yeah.
For those of you who, want to know how to approach this type of thing. Very, very important. Yeah.
And yeah, one of the things about being smaller, being lower, not as built up yet in your creative journeys is sometimes if you reach out too early, Nick brought this up a little bit earlier. Sometimes if you reach out a little too early, it can actually have a negative impact on you in that when you are in a situation where you have a great deal to offer and you have a lot to connect on, that people are like, oh, it's that guy who, when you reach out early, sometimes you say dumb shit and some people might remember, a lot of people don't remember, but some people might, and they'll be like, oh, that's that weird person who keeps spamming us, even though you have a ton to offer them now.
Right.
So this is an interesting thing about reaching out in various ways. I think being, hearty in your approbation and lavish.
You're going to have to define that word. I don't know what that means. Word of the day.
Yeah. Basically making it all about the other person.
Approbation?
Yeah. It's a Dale Carnegie thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you who are not aware of Dale Carnegie, check him out. He's an old guy who wrote a bunch of books, and the books are great in terms of communication and all that kind of stuff. But it helps if you, when you are reaching out, let's say you're doing it early, to to make it all about the other person and emphasize like what the value you have to offer might be, and try not to sell anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got any more there, Nick Hill? I think we're actually, let me check.
We're pretty cool.
Yeah,
what?
I think we're done with the.
Oh yeah, we got
points.
through.
We got through.
We actually gave ourselves not too much to regurgitate for as much as I did talk in this one.
You did a good job, man. But yeah, to summarize, being the one-man band, it has tremendous benefits in terms of productivity, but it has some hurdles in terms of maybe always getting to being consistent with the work, and it also can be very lonely in terms of doing the work, but also having some camaraderie. Just the deeper you get into the work, the more specific your life gets, and the kind of communication that might be to your mental health is kind of important. So connecting with people is important. Comrades in terms of other artists, also in terms of industry side, for the purpose of propulsion and growth.
Yeah.
So that's this week's topic. What do we want to get up to? It's comment time.
Yeah. First and foremost, Cosman, email me. We need to figure out how we can allow certain people to put stuff in the chat, link wise. But for now, since I can't find your channel right now, Cosman, if you can email me your channel.
I'm subscribed to it.
I am too, but I'm subscribed to so many people. I have to go find the name or say the name, and then I'll find the link. Either way, Cosman is in the early stages of his channel. Bunn and I have been encouraging him because he's causing the lab. I was causing
Oh, there it is.
You found it? You got it? You got the link? Okay.
Yeah. Cause in the lab. Are you gonna put it in there?
Yeah, I'll put it in there.
Bam. Okay, great. But anyway, started Cause in the Lab series. Let's do this. So Cosman says, started a Cause in the Lab series, just trying things out, sort of things. Have a couple of amp reviews. Yes, Cosman, Cause in the Lab. So Cosman is a great example of kind of getting started. He's been someone that we've connected with through the live streams and comments and all that kind of stuff. And through a lot of conversation, Cause, is just like, go for it. He's like you should really, and he just did. And he's coming up with some great stuff that's really helpful and really different. He has this one video on the attenuator, a DIY attenuator. So if you have a tube amp and you want to run your tube amp at home silently and just with IRs, he has this DIY attenuator that I think costs like $10 or $20 in total parts. And it works perfectly. And the came up with to demo it is a sick track and all that kind of stuff. So good on you, Cosman, just going for it. And what do you got to lose? You get fun making stuff, because making stuff is really, even if doesn't go viral and hit 1 million views.
Right.
I've never gone viral in my life.
And I'm being a terrible friend because I can't find his freaking channel, like in all of my subs.
Oh man!
I know I just watched the
Why don't you take it? I know I can find it pretty easily. Now that I know
Okay.
that I remember causing the lab.
All right. What
But
else?
Barry
What else?
Prosser, at this point for
Uh,
me, he would never go back to a regular band.
my current setup fits my
My
personality and
current,
situation perfectly. Yeah. Um, and it's okay. That's okay. You know, if this is working for you currently, then, you know, go hard with it. You know, that might change in the future, but you can cross that bridge when you get to it. So, absolutely. Recognize that this situation is working for you and make the best of it. Yeah, the water heater element as a dummy load. I just watched that one, but because I'm logged into two different or like four different Google accounts on different browsers, it's like
oh, right.
it keeps booting me to like stuff. Let's see. Let's see here. Apoplexia
Uh,
says, yeah,
oh,
there are some fun aspects to being in a band, like the camaraderie and hanging out while creating stuff, but creating solo and having full control over your vision equals the best. Something to be said about it, for
yeah.
sure. I'm actually, like I said, I'm working with Steven from Gear Stuff and Things on a 3-track EP we're going to be putting out. And I think I'm just at the point where I'm just so excited about it. Steven and I were chatting late to the night last night, sharing bands and listening to music and listening to our old music and watching some cringy old videos of ourselves. Like I shared him a video when I was in a band and I was ridiculous and it's crazy, but I'm more excited about these 3 caveman knuckle dragging heavy sludgy doomy, no, I wouldn't even call it doomy, but you know, these fuzzy tracks that than anything I put out so far. And I think it's just the right time, connecting with Steven through you and, becoming pals over the last several months. It's all led. So it's all led to
Yeah.
this. I am really
Oh,
excited. I'm really excited.
dude, it's sick. I have to do the thing.
You have to
The
go drain
liquid
your
death.
brain. Yep. Is that what it is? Marauder Reloaded. Here we go. I got it, everybody. I got it. I got it. Boom. That is Cosman's channel. I mean, there is something to be said, apoplexia. I do love just writing and creating what I want and not giving a crap about like what anybody thinks or feels about it. Um, but there does come opportunities and in times where it's like, okay, this is going to work best with the help of someone else. So
The Discord group. Have we talked about
Discord
that?
group. No, we should. I'll let you while I go drain my brain
Okay.
of all the liquid death.
So I will do this video thing in a moment. Something just before, because I just thought of it, something that I need to share is we have a Discord group. Many of you are already there, but for those of you who do not know about it and who are interested in Discord, it is a Bandless Discord group, and it has a section for Nick Hill as well as a section for the Bunn, but it has many other sections. The whole point of it is really for the community surrounding all of this stuff, the baritone guitars, the Helix stuff, etc. So I just want to share the Discord link. This link is good for 24 hours. And if you're interested in joining Discord and connecting with other people like yourself, continuing the conversation with many of the people who are here in the comments, it's a great place to connect with people and maybe not feel so much like you're living on an island in solo zone.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. You got your AirPods, so you heard that whole
I heard
thing.
it all. Yeah.
You could have talked while
I,
you
I
were,
I muted it. I didn't want you guys
yeah,
all to hear my business.
the the Niagara
The
Falls.
Niagara business. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Crazy. Um, okay. Can you take one more while I do this? Grab this video link.
Yeah. Causman says having folks to bounce ideas off of sure helps. Absolutely. And it's funny when you do the solo thing for a while, like at least for me, I was kind of like sometimes craving it. So,
Yeah.
you know, that there is that yeah, 13 Flaws kind of agrees. What I like about collabs is bouncing ideas off each other. Apoplexia says for sure, like one of the tracks I sent you and Bunn was a friend, and it's the best track I took part in. Yeah, you just don't know what'll come of it.
Oh man, why is this channel not coming up?
What are you looking for?
Cosman's channel.
I put it up there
Oh,
already.
you put it. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got it.
I'm an idiot.
No, you're not. You're just ill-informed.
I
It happens.
I'm not ill-informed. It's just like,
No, while you're
yeah.
in the potty, I put it up there. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, Apoplexia, did you already hit this one? Some of my best experiences have been collabs with other producers in recent years. And I am a difficult collab person. I can
Yes,
say
you
for
are.
sure. Yeah. I don't seek to be difficult, but one of the things about collabs that I can say for sure is if I'm going to go into it, I want to make sure that it is seamless, technically speaking, for both parties. So I will actually refuse collabs knowing that I'm going to have a really hard time with a certain part. And I'm going to be like, this isn't going to work because I'm not going to be able to do it. But it's something that I'm hungry for. I've tried to do probably 6 collabs now, and it never works out because usually I don't understand the music. And also the technology, there's a technological barrier of some kind that makes it difficult.
Okay, so maybe I didn't post it. Now I did.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Thank you, Dylan.
Have you hit this one already? MJ, how are you doing,
this is
MJ?
a good one. No, MJ just dropped in, so let's get to it.
And just tuned in has the perspective of brands that ultimately have one person writing all the music been brought up. Bands, okay, bands, not brands. So bands that have a master creator or a sort of
a visionary.
Yeah, the visionary, and there are the musicians that surround the visionary. Very common. I would say a lot of really successful, like the higher up bands often work that way to some extent.
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah. I can say for myself that if I play in a band, I have played in a few bands where the primary writer was incredibly strong. So playing in a band with my pal Artie. If I'm going to play in a band with Artie, I don't really have a desire to be creative. I really just want to execute on his vision, because typically his vision is incredibly well thought out, and the material is very exciting to me, very artistically interesting to me. So I typically I try not to step on it too much. Of course, where things may change in terms of me collaborating with a person like him is sometimes the material is a taller order than I can deliver. So there has been the occasion where I've had to dumb things down, but that's about it.
It's funny that you say that, because I was thinking And I have, Bunn and I have tried to kind of collab on music before, but because he has a very specific way he likes to write, and I write a certain way, which is like, I am very willy-nilly. I'm very like, you know, um, chromatic to a fault at times. But our writing styles are very different, and that's okay. We haven't been able to successfully collab on a piece of music yet, but
I
like
think
you just
there's a
said,
way.
there is a way. But I
Yeah.
also was thinking, just like you said about Artie, like just to support your writing style, I would be willing to do. Like if I
Right.
was to play bass in something where you wrote all the
Yeah.
guitars,
And vice
like
versa. So,
I would be 100% fulfilled and happy about that.
right. Yeah.
So because your music excites me, and I've heard Artie's music, and Artie's music excites me too, and I would do the same for him,
Yeah.
because when you do come across people with such a fresh and exciting like sound of their own, which I think both of you guys have,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, well, I would 100% in a scenario back you up, you know. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yes,
Nick
this one.
Shaw. When I went back to solo writing, the first thing I did was send the demos to the artists I knew to get their feedback. I needed that feedback to look at my stuff differently, was too invested. What do you have to say about this? We do this a lot, Nick Hill, you and I,
Yeah.
and Artie.
And Artie, yeah, we have usual email strings, and Steven's been in them now too, where I'll send stuff to you guys, you'll send stuff. Shit, we do that with video too. It's like
Yeah.
we bounce this stuff off of. Sometimes it's probably, at least for me, I won't speak for you,
Yeah.
but like maybe for a little bit of like confirmation on how we feel about it, or
Yeah.
really wanting that like constructive feedback. Like we know what we're getting into when we send something to the group.
Yeah.
You're not going to get told what you want to hear necessarily, but you're also kind of hoping like you hear or see what we see. You know what I mean? So it's like it's
Yeah.
good to do that. It's good to have like a brain trust, if you will, to
Yeah.
bounce shit off of. Very good idea.
It's so good. I find, so what would you have to say about your own, feelings surrounding your music in terms of like preciousness, I guess would be the best way to explain it. Like, just to give you an example, a very brief example is like, I am not precious about my music at all. If somebody flat out spits in my face and tells me they hate it, I'm like, great.
Yeah,
I completely don't care.
when it boils down to it, I write riffs that I like to listen to.
Yeah, same.
So I'm sorry if you don't like, and people have,
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah.
It's fine. I know it's
Some
not going
people
to
are
fall on
very,
everybody's
very
ears.
sensitive to that, though. You know,
To catch me on the right day, I'm sure it would bug me more than another, but all in all, like that's why I say this all the time. Caveman riffs, knuckle dragging stuff, like
I
I don't
love
write
those
anything
riffs.
I don't write anything particularly complicated or flashy. Dylan and I have talks about this stuff too, but it's like if I get a feeling from it, I don't care what I'm playing. I don't care if it's just like 0101. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If it makes me like, and yeah, I do listen to my own music. I don't know if it's like that with other people, but some of my best friends pointed out a couple months ago, like because we all can see each other's Spotify. They're like, "Man, Nick listens to a lot of Nick Hill." I'm like, "Yeah, I like my music. I
Yeah, if
wrote
you
my
don't,
riffs for me."
yeah,
You
if you
know?
don't like your music, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a big difference between liking what you do and enjoying what you do and the results of it and being precious
And
about
be
it.
precious
Those
about it.
are
Yeah.
two different things. I
Hmm.
think. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
uh, a lot of people doing this sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good.
That's good. Okay, we're not on an island. Nick Shaw, who shared that, he and I used to be in a band together, and I get to hear some of his jams that he is working
Oh,
on.
that's great.
I may
Yeah.
be one of his biggest champions, and he hates it when I champion him. I'm like, "You can do it." He's like, "I'm afraid."
Well, Bun, how many people, like, we each have people like that in our lives
Yeah.
where we see talent in people
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they don't want to do anything with it because they are afraid or afraid of
Yeah.
that, but somebody might not like it. You're like,
Yeah.
most people won't like it probably, but
A lot of people don't like the
especially
kind
at
of
first.
attention because I think one of the big things in it is um, some people are very uncomfortable with praise and the sort of the chit chat of praise. That's an interesting thing. It might be an episode unto itself.
Go
But
on. What do you mean?
so when you play a show, I've had a lot of bands that have done okay. You know,
Hmm.
not like super successful or anything like that, but have been like some kind of a darling kind of thing in a scene or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. That's
And
great.
it's just the way it's worked out. I've been fortunate this way. Um, and of course, that's the goal. Like
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be fully real. Like that is the goal, is to gain some kind
Be
of,
successful?
yeah.
Oh, no.
Like, yeah. So that is the goal.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate to achieve something like that a number of times. And so I'm no stranger to the sort of post show or post set chit chat. I've also had post show chit chat where like people really hate what I'm doing, or something goes horribly wrong, or it's
Yeah.
just like wrong crowd. So that's fine. But the post show chit chat, especially when it's incredibly positive, it it can be very awkward. I have figured out how to sort of turn it around and just be like, how, just make it about the person that you're interacting with. And that's
Yeah.
always good. Um,
Yeah.
but not everyone is comfortable with that kind of stuff. And it's like, this person you've never met before is being like, "That was amazing. You're great. It was such a sick show."
Oh, yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it can be a lot. And especially if some level of experience with this kind of feedback, so that I'm close to, have had this sort of luck where they have connected with people in a meaningful way. And I think a lot of times people are uncomfortable with that part of it.
Yeah.
Not sure
Absolutely.
exactly, but I think there's part of that going on.
Hmm.
Where are we at here? You got one?
Um,
We're at 9:38. What time are we going till today?
we can be done whenever you want to be done.
Doesn't
It
matter
looks
to
like
me.
we're at. I mean, if you guys have anything else you want to get in, well, I mean, I don't mind hanging out, or we can wrap it. It doesn't matter. Um, Nick Shaw says my fear allowed me to learn drums for another band, so it can have its benefits. That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Like you
I know
just
it.
you directed it in a different way, you
Yeah.
know?
And he really excelled as a drummer, and he really, I think, had a lot of fun on the drums. Like, was able to have a ton of fun being the drummer and kind of being able to hang back and just get into the music.
Yeah. Turboplasma says technical is not important. Too much sport culture in some music these days. I
Yeah.
think I think maybe today, and I could be wrong. I could be very ignorant because I kind of distance myself from some of it, the social media aspect of it, which seems to be the place where some of this happens. There was a little bit of a bump in time, maybe 2 years ago, where it was like as fast as
Shred.
you could play, as fast as you could play all the notes, and people were speeding up their music and shit like that. It was like that's not gonna fool. You're not fooling anybody, and it's okay if you're not that fast. Now I feel like that kind of like hit a critical mass and just completely dropped off. Again, I could be wrong, and like you don't see
Question
so
for
much
you.
of it. Yeah.
How many solos are clear in your mind? How many solos have you heard in your life where you're
Yeah.
like, that is the catchiest solo I've ever heard,
I've had this discussion with
and I
Dill.
can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
For me,
I've had,
zero.
there isn't many, but Dylan and I were talking about this. Like there isn't many, but the ones that you can like hum along when you're listening to a song are usually not the flashiest thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 They're
Yeah.
a lead, more of a lead.
They're tasteful, if you will, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Not crapping on solos. I think people with
No,
that
no, not at
ability
all.
is great. But I just find it very interesting that a lot of people, I guess, as is it Turbo Plasma who brought it up
Yeah, Turbo.
with
Yep.
the sport of it all. Yeah, it's interesting how things kind of went that way. I think it's something that you can control. You don't have to be artistically gifted whatsoever, or not gifted, but artistically developed, maybe is a better way to say it, uh, to be really fast and technical, because it is very much a sport oriented thing that if you just drill, you'll get somewhere with it.
Yeah, like so for the longest time I didn't put solos on anything because I didn't
Yeah.
think I was good enough to do it, whatever that means. And then at some point it was like you even probably said it too, and more than just you, but I remember you're kind of like, well, what do you mean you're not good enough? Like it just
It's
what are you
flavor.
talking about?
It's all about
Yeah,
flavor.
it's flavor exactly. So I started to just now I put a solo in everything. I still technically am not a great solo guitar player, but I've written solos that I can look back and I'm like, I'm glad I tried to write it because it turned out good. It fits the song and it's more about fitting the song than being flashy, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah.
Yeah. It's I think if you're gonna add a lead or a solo, I think flavor is always gonna be a better complement than just check out these how many notes I got in here.
Yeah. Yeah,
uh
I always use Devin Townsend as an example. The guy can literally shred.
yeah,
He can pretty much do anything on guitar. But if you listen to a lot of his work, it's very understated. It's very about the composition. And
right.
he doesn't flash that much in his songs.
No.
And I dig it. Like I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Because it's about the song to him, not about how fast he can, you know,
Check it
wank.
out.
Yeah. I And it's easy for us to all jump on this bandwagon. This bandwagon of like,
Yeah.
you don't need to play all these notes. To that degree, or like the inverse of it is like there are solos. There's some Threat Signal solos. Threat Signal is from Canada. They're not a band anymore, but there's some solos where they're just like they're what I think they might be on the West Coast. I don't remember. A long time ago. They There's some solos that are just like seriously they're cooking, but it's good. It fits the song. Like so that's not to shit on like, oh, okay, you can play all these notes, dude, but is it any good? Like sometimes it is good, and sometimes I wish I could play all those notes, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Don't let it stop you from even trying, because I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Odds off, just go for it. That's the
Yeah.
best policy, I think, because like, what do you got to lose? Might as well live
Hmm.
because death.
Yeah. Death is inevitable. Thirst doesn't have to be.
Murder your fears, murder your thirst.
This is my last one. I got to order another case.
Oh shoot! Thankfully, I have a 7-Eleven right beside me, and
Barry knows Threat Signal. Yeah.
yeah.
Threat Signal
Um,
really kind of had a sound. So, like, for me, and I'm very ignorant to this genre, like when Meshuggah came out and started their sound, I didn't get it. Like it was over my head. Like even Devin when he was in Strapping Young Lad, over my head a bit. But Threat Signal kind of took that sound and made it a little bit more like genty before it was genty was a thing. And I was gaga over Threat Signal. Like they were tuned low, they had these percussive riffs, they had harmony and melody and like really cool, clean over it was like they were so killer.
Yeah.
I'm just geeking out.
Yeah. I kind of I was late to the Threat Signal thing, um, but I'm definitely aware of them.
Their first album to me is amazing.
Yeah, I saw them, or maybe even played a show with them here in Toronto on one of their tours.
Would not be surprised.
But yeah, not. I can't tell you anything about it except I think the bass player had EMGs and it sounded good.
Yeah.
Tim Wheeler says, thank you to you guys so much for the good discussion and the great music you both write. I really appreciate hanging with both of you. And to this, I say, thank you.
Thank you.
What makes this whole thing is that we get to hang out with you. And
yeah,
it's like, it's the whole thing. It's the whole reason. Like I wasn't looking to make another channel or do anything.
No,
but
we really weren't.
Yeah. This whole thing was such a rad experience because of this, because of hanging with guys like Tim Wheeler and the rest of you. Tyler Adams, didn't see you in there. How are you? But we also have a Discord, collective Discord, which you can find all of, the Helix and Baritone Obsessed stuff in there. Link is in. I just put it in there. It's all over this feed. But would love to have you. That link expires in 24 hours. No pressure if you don't want to go there, but it's a fun hang and it's a great place to further develop your relationships with each other. Could be collabs that go on. You could help each other out. Could be collabs with us. Who knows? We're thinking about doing like a riff thing. I haven't had a minute to think about it since.
We are definitely falling behind on some of the big ideas. We will get there eventually.
Yeah.
So those of you guys who are in the Discord server, bear with us. Discord is new to us. We're trying to get it set up so it can function on its own and you guys can, make it what you want, but also Bunn has his channel and I'm trying to produce stuff and we're both working on music.
Yeah.
So we are definitely trying, but we're
not trying. We're doing. We are doing. It's just kind of incremental.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up actually right now, if it'll let me. So here's the Discord server. This is the Bandless Discord server. We got channels for Bandless and the Bunn and me and Gear Stuff and Things. We got Baritone Obsessed stuff, BO riffs, Helix, Studio One. We're trying to build the channels as we go along, and you can have relevant discussions inside of each of these channels. So, Bunn and I, being old dudes, kind of look at it as it's like a forum. It's like a central location type of forum, type of platform. So we dig it, and it's pretty sick. So
yeah, I love it. Join us, hang out. Thank you, Tim Wheeler, for being rad and hanging out with us. And Nick Shaw brings up this great comment. It's a talent to be able to know what a song needs. Sometimes something that's beneath your ability is exactly what the song needs. So unbelievably true. As much as people make fun of newer bands for their leads, they work. You could say this about any generation of music. You can find something like this going on in it. And this part here of it's a talent to be able to know what a song needs. And some people are more gifted at that than others.
Yeah.
Can't really tell you what it is that makes that ability better or worse, but when you hear it, you kind of hear it. Something that is so perfectly crafted, you're like, that is so well crafted, even if you don't like it. Great example for me with that would be, this is an old example now. I don't know how many people remember this band even, but Destiny Child. It's a Beyonce band before Beyonce was
It's
solo.
cute that you think they're not going to know who that is.
I don't know. I don't know what people listen to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I don't listen to the radio or anything like that. So
Right. No, I know. I'm just teasing you.
Call me dumb. But she had this band called Destiny Child, and their first single, which was Automobiles or whatever, it was a revolutionary tune, and I didn't like it. I was like, this is kind of funny and cheesy sounding, but I was like, oh, it's put together so well, and the like what's in it is so, like, whoever put this together is so good. And I just couldn't stop listening to it, but I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head at the moment, but did you just throw this one up? I don't want to like trample over the comment.
How do you mean? No, this is what is what inspired this whole comment.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
whole,
Cool.
This whole conversation.
I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I was going to bring this one up. There's a really good video of a drummer talking about Ringo Starr being an amazing drummer because of knowing what beats to put where, not how tech it is. Yeah. And I was talking with Steven about Tom Petty as an example. You know, Tom Petty is one of my heroes, and, you know, all the Heartbreakers too. They're very like near and dear to me, you know, growing up listening to him with my stepdad and everything, and my family. Like Tom Petty, if you listen to some of the songs, like they're very formulaic, but also, you know, it's all the songs are exactly what the song needs. You know, everybody's playing what the song needs. Like, it doesn't have to be anything more than that.
Yeah. And it's, what's interesting about Tom Petty is it is like 100% distinguishable. Like,
yeah, that's
it will always stick way out, and it's so basic.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, you ask about like how many solos can you remember, or like just melodies and parts. Like, Tom Petty stuff all day long, I could like probably hum all the parts and record it and make an a cappella version of it, you know?
Yeah.
Just because it all fits in, it all works. And like, there's something to be said about that kind of songwriter and composer, because let's face it, you're composing those songs, you know?
Oh yeah, he's definitely a composer. He's a writer.
Yeah. So like, I love Tom Petty, and I kind of look at, you know, Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters as kind of like a modern day version of that, because like, but Dave even writes stuff that's like not typical. You're like, he'll do weird timings and interesting chord modulations.
Yeah. And I've been recently like listening to Dave Grohl's solo stuff, and I was like, oh, this guy's even more of a weirdo than I thought.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
He had this album. It was called Probot, I think.
Right.
Was that what it's called? It
was
all
with the bass player from Voivod and or maybe,
and it had like
Jason Newsted.
He had like random singers and stuff, or random musicians, I think, on some of it.
Bunch of metal people.
Yeah, one song was like Lemmy was singing on it, and it was totally could have easily been, you know, a Motorhead song. But yeah, Dave is all over the place, and there's some Foo Fighters songs that like I listen to, and there's a song Ropes by Foo Fighters that to me is like one of the best songs ever written. I don't know what it is about the damn song. It's just so good.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. I don't even want to, I don't mean to like get stuck on such a popular guy or a popular band, but I don't give a shit because I think Dave's awesome. For him to have been in Nirvana, like one of the most influential and pivotal bands in music history.
Nirvana, and then Foo Fighters, them Crooked Vultures, Probot.
That's right.
Whatchamacallit, Queens of the Stone Age.
He played in Queens, yep.
And so many others. Like he just does all this awesome creative stuff. Like he's the ultimate in terms of the perfect collaborator.
Well, yeah, I was just going to touch on that. He did this documentary about Sound City, Sound.
Yeah, Sound City Studios.
Yeah, Sound City, and
I think it's just called Sound City. Yeah.
Yeah, and he bought the Neve.
Yeah, I love that
R.I.P.
documentary.
R.I.P. R.I.P. to Rupert.
Yeah.
Bought the Neve, put it in his home studio, wrote an album with all these famous people that wrote hit after hit record on that Neve board. And that album is like he wrote, there's a Tom Petty on one of the tracks. There's fucking bass player, Beatles, Paul McCartney, Nick, Stevie Nicks, Trent and Josh from Queens of the Stone Age. Like
a lot of big names.
It's such a good documentary. Yes.
Yeah.
And that album is super sick to listen to.
The Probot album or the Sound City album?
The Sound City album, because it's I forget what it's called, but it's a good. There's a record of original music that he wrote with all these people. That's from basically that documentary.
Right.
So sick.
So sick. Turboplasma says, "Man, it's so effing hot in here. Been 37 degrees Celsius for the last 3 days straight. I need to murder my thirst."
37C is such a Canadian comment.
Well, actually, it's the measurement of the rest of the world. It's just the United States that is on the Fahrenheit system.
Dylan and his wisecracking comments. No one knows he played in Queens. Do you get it?
Yeah.
I don't like when Dylan says something funny when I'm trying to have a conversation about a comment, because it always derails my thought process.
But
I'm so easily distracted by the shiny, funny comment.
It's the way it has to be.
I'd have it no other way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do we got? We got 9:57. So we're going to close her out here I guess it's 8:57 Central Time, but we're going to close it out. Got 3 minutes. Is there anything that we need to cover off on? If you're not subscribed to the channel and wish to subscribe to it or help grow the channel, that would be great. If not, don't.
Yeah. If not, don't.
But if you're into that would be awesome. Thank you. And also, the likes, and you guys know all the YouTube algorithmic stuff.
It does feel a little redundant saying all that stuff, but
you got
if we don't say it,
nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the other thing is we're fixing to get some guests on the show. Not sure if it's going to be how it's going to work, if it's going to be all three people in the show, probably. But there's some technical hurdles that we got to get through. So we're going to have some guests on the show.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. And we're probably going to pose some questions to the groups and whatnot prior to those episodes, because it will be an opportunity to sort of maybe not even necessarily post some questions, but kind of give up a warm up so that you can come and actually talk to the guests and ask them questions specifically.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Because I don't want to waste those opportunities. So that's coming up. We'll let you know about it, but just a heads up that's something we're putting together. And it's about being a musician, music industry stuff, all that, people who are from that, and people who just have a different perspective than us, or a different set of experiences than us.
Barry asks an interesting question that might bring up something we were talking about earlier. When can we set up YouTube memberships for this channel?
We got to hit 1,000 subscribers to do that.
Bunn and I were considering, because Barry, you're not the only person that's asked. Yeah. And, part of this thing is to sustain itself. And we were kicking around the idea of maybe until that time, or at least for now, be like starting a Patreon for Bandless to like go into this channel.
Yeah,
Just one tier, just one tier, you know, at the beginning, perk wise, it's going to be kind of lacking because it's just to support the channel. But like we've talked about in previous episodes, there will be content that doesn't fit on Bunn's channel and doesn't fit on my channel that will end up here.
Yeah, I already have some content in the works for this channel.
That's amazing.
Video channel specific videos that are not live streams.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Patreon might be a thing.
We're closing it down. Hope you're well though.
Anthony is in the Discord.
Yeah, Anthony's he's a prince.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all. By the way, those of you who are in the Discord, Bunn and I weren't sure what to expect, but per usual, like we've said, like the comment section is always thoughtful and engaging and smart and thoughtful and compassionate. The Discord's, everybody's been great, helping out each other, sharing good stories, real positive. There's no stress inside of there, and that's how we want it. That's how we expect it to stay. Yeah. So thank you guys for everybody who's taken part in the Discord and helping us out, growing with us over there, because we don't know what the F we're doing when it comes to that stuff. We're learning. We're learning as we go, and allowing us some grace and space to like have put it together, but still like not feeling bad for us putting our focus in our own channel still. So long-winded. Thank you.
Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Discord is bam. Copy, bam. We'll put it in here one last time. Control V and come on. There we go. My mouse never cuts out anymore, by the way, Nick Hill.
What happened? Did you get a new one?
No.
I wonder if it was the update.
I haven't updated there's a new one right now. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, I just did it. I was worried, but I did it.
So, loving the Discord, by the way. Lots of rad people top
snow chat. Yeah.
Snow is such a weird thing for North America, like for southern part of North America. Like for here in Toronto, it's normal.
It's a nightmare for southern United States.
For Texas, they're like they don't even have heat. Even if they had the power on, they don't have heat in their house.
You hear about brownouts during the summer in like California. They have to do that because it's the opposite. Everybody's cranking their heat and using all their. It's like the worst time to have rolling blackouts. It's spectacular.
Yeah, so wild. So wild. Nick just signed up.
Excellent.
Oh, hello. Is it working?
You're good.
Anyhow,
yeah.
It seems like my connection is not working.
Who knows?
I'm not sure what's going on. Anyhow, I'm going to sign out here. If you're interested in helping out the channel, there is subscription, like just subscribing to the channel is huge. And there's a PayPal link in the description. Interested in helping out. Anyways, it's not super expensive to run this thing, but there are some costs. But yeah, if you want to get involved, get involved. If not, don't. Your smiling faces in the comments is enough. And I hope you have an amazing rest of the week.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.